Good evening, Facebook Live. Apostle Terrence Lyons of Ecclesia Ministries here in Murfreesboro, Tennessee. Coming to you on tonight, bringing you tonight's Bible study. Pray that everything is going well for everyone. Get a few things in place and we'll be ready to rock and roll. Let's see here. Excuse me. Hopefully everyone has been able to get their week going and deal with some things. It's like we are set to have us a barn burner tonight. It's definitely been, I had warned everybody Saturday that there was going to be some stuff coming this week. So, as everybody can see, it's been some stuff coming this week. Started Saturday. Good evening there, sis. So it's been a very adventurous few days since Saturday and getting into this week. Around about Monday or Tuesday, you probably felt the need to, good evening there, Overseer Melissa, probably felt the need to, like you were going to have to redo some stuff. Like you were going to have to redirect how you manage some things, redirect how you done things, redirect how you thought about things. That's normal for this time and season. We're in the fourth month. That was the ninth day of the month. And one of the things, good evening there, Prophetess Elizabeth, one of the things that I want to make sure that you understand about this season in and of itself, especially in this month of Tammuz, this one is always more intense, but this one has some extra on it. The reason I want you to understand that is because we may even end up taking a look at an extra verse tonight that is not on the list to look at, but it's vital that everyone recognizes why your sensitivity meter is going nuts. Why you probably have felt like you were emotionally unstable at times, and you haven't really felt that in quite a while or at all, ever. And encountering that emotional instability during the month of Tammuz is, because again, the number 4 is a number of direction change. So having to really look at some things that you're needing to do in a different way or wanting to do in a different way, and all of a sudden you just realize that I don't know why I've been handling this way. I need to do this way. You just felt that shift. You just did, like you needed to just change directions like abruptly. You're okay. let me let you know you're okay. You're not losing your mind. You're not, you're okay. So tonight's question, it is, I want you to pay close attention to some things that we're going to look at tonight, because our question tonight, do you know the pathway to your desire? And if your answer is no right off the rip, it's okay. Let me let you know that's okay. Good evening there, Prophetess Tanisha. If you don't know the pathway to your desire right now, it's perfectly okay, because we're still in this part of the series of identifying your desire. And a lot of people are still figuring that part out. So if you haven't even identified it, then you're definitely not going to per se know the pathway to it. But what you're going to find out tonight is why God sets some things up that way. And it's funny because I kind of learned this about how he prepares the messages, gives me the ways to prepare the messages. And sometimes I'll get a flood of information and I've got a bunch of it way before it's time for me to speak it. So like the Bible study, sometimes I can have the information and he'll send me a flood of information. I get to write it down. I get to put it in order the way that he wants it spoken the night of Bible study. Boom, 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 boom. It's in place. I'm good to go. Sometimes I don't get all the information until 5:45. Today, I got part of it early, part of it midday, part of it at 5:36. I was able to get everything prepared, get it lined up, get it ready, all of that. Sometimes on Saturdays, I'm able to have all of the information by Monday, and all I got to do is put it in order. He doesn't change a thing. I'm able to go into Saturday, bring it forth, do that. Sometimes I don't get all the information until I'm getting ready to walk out the door. And then I'll have to write some stuff in on the notes to have it prepared. I can do it either way. I'm perfectly okay. The point that I'm wanting you to understand about what I just told you is I understand the pathway to my desire with what he's given me to do. And I've learned to be okay with it. Whether I'm getting it all beforehand, a week before, or whether I'm getting it all at the last minute, I'm good. I'm perfectly okay with either one. Now, it didn't start out like that. I didn't start out being okay like that, but I'm okay with that now. And the reason that I'm telling you all this is because as you begin to find the pathway to your desire, and I'll show you some things tonight, it's going to all make sense. So I want to start out in the book of Proverbs, chapter 20 and verse 5. Proverbs chapter 20, verse 5 says this. It says, counsel in the heart of a man is like deep water, but a man of understanding will draw it out. When Jesus says things like, out of your belly shall flow rivers of living water, what he's saying is there's a source of words, there's a source of information, there's a way of thinking, there's a way of revelation that rests in the heart of every human being. Once you actually get the right connection with the Most High, you're able to allow the Holy Spirit to flow through you and work through you, there will be a lot of information that flows out of you about your purpose and about your desire. You'll be able to flow in things, give revelation of things. It will, I mean, it's, if you haven't found your desire yet, buckle up. Just buckle up, because once the information starts coming forth of that, you're going to be at a place to where all of the information, the way that it comes forth and the pace by which that it comes forth, it's going to be a lot. And you'll have to figure out how you want to manage that, how you want to house that. And God's going to show you that. He's going to make that plain to you. The reason that I'm saying that to you is because in this verse right here, the word counsel right there is actually, it means advice, it means plan, it means purpose. It's basically your purpose is hidden in you. So I want y'all to type that in for me. My purpose is hidden in me. It's hidden. It initially, it's hidden, and it's hidden on purpose because the message that I delivered to Louisiana a few months ago was secret until revealed. And the thing that you have to understand is he hides those things within us so that we don't mess them up. Because I know what some of you thinking. I done jacked up some stuff, I done some stuff, and I thought I knew my purpose, and now you ain't messed nothing up. Yeah, I promise you ain't. The reason that I need for you to understand that so clearly is because when you understand that your purpose is hidden within you, this verse right here is why it's so important. This is why I do what I do, because it says counsel in the heart of man is like deep water, but a man of understanding will draw it out. So what he's saying is it's like a well. And like I said, when Jesus is saying, out of thy belly shall flow rivers of living water, it's like a well. So somebody's got to know how to access that, draw it out, bring it forth so that your purpose can be carried out. The reason this is so important, I'm just going to dive right into our point right here, because our first point is desire is deep within your being, but it is meant to be lived out on purpose. Your desire is deep within your being, but it, assist, is meant to be lived out on purpose. And what I mean by it's meant to be lived out, it's meant to be out in the open. Your desire should come out in the open. Now, don't put it out in the open too fast. That's the whole key. A lot of people find out their desires, they throw it out there so fast, and then once they throw their desires out there so fast, you end up getting pimped. Yes, and I'm saying it just that way. You end up getting pimped. You end up getting pimped in relationship. You end up getting pimped in ministry. You end up getting pimped in the corporate world, pimped in politics, pimped in all of these things. The reason is because you put your desire out there, but you didn't understand your purpose of that desire and how to manage it properly. So not understanding how to manage it properly, somebody else comes along and they're going to benefit from it. They're going to benefit on your ability to lead because they need a leader. They see that you really, you know how to lead and you're great at it, but you don't want that position. So they just keep pouring responsibility on you, never compensating you, never acknowledging you for any of those things. And they just keep pouring it on and pouring it on and pouring it on and pouring it on because they're pimping you out of your desire. You've been gifted with it. They see it, but you don't know it's what you're supposed to be living out. So you are undervaluing even who you are and who you're designed to be. Let's go ahead and dig into this. So that's our first point. Desire is deep within your being, but it is meant to be lived out on purpose. So God hides it. And then once he hides it, he's like, okay, I'm going to put you in the earth. And then little by little, event of life by event of life, I'm going to slowly reveal to you what your true desire is. This is why I want you to get this, because for our next point, I want you to go to 2 Kings chapter 25, verses 1 through 3. 2 Kings chapter 25, verses 1 through 3. Because what I need to make sure that you get is that sometimes as you have things uncovered that begin to show you what your desire is, some of you will hold yourself hostage. Quit holding yourself hostage to what you initially liked, because you're still developing. So y'all type that in for me. I'm still developing. And even if you found your desire, you know what your purpose is, why you're here in the earth, you're still developing. So to know that you're still developing, what I don't want you doing is I don't want you holding yourself hostage with decisions of things that you've liked along the way, and holding yourself hostage in that and keeping yourself hostage in that begins to keep you from developing properly, because you're wanting who you are to be conveyed a certain way to those that are watching you. So when you are beginning to want your choices to appear a certain way to people, you're not yet fully following your heart's desire yet. So since you're not fully following your heart's desire yet, and you're trying to convey who you are to look a certain way to those that are looking at you, you can't even fulfill your desire because you're living by guile. And when you're living by guile, you're hindering your own development. And for those that may not know what guile is, I've explained it. It's trickery. It's not being truthful. It's all of that. So you not fully being who you're designed to be is hindering your own development to your own desire, all because you're trying to make yourself look a certain way to a certain group of people and neglecting who you are at the core of your being in the process. Now, the reason that I want you to get this, and the reason that I'm pointing this out, is because in 2 Kings chapter 25, verses 1 through 3. The focal point is verse 3. I want you to see this. It says, "And it came to pass in the 9th year of his reign, in the 10th month, in the 10th day of the month, that Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, came, he and all his host, against Jerusalem, pitched against it. They built forts against it round about. And the city was besieged unto the 11th year of King Zedekiah. And on the 9th day of the 4th month, the famine prevailed in the city." Now, the 9th day of the 4th month was Monday/Tuesday. Okay. The famine prevailed in the city, and there was no bread for the people of the land. The reason I said earlier, you felt like you had to redo things. See, today is the 12th day of the 4th month. So we about to bring some governmental order to your direction change. See, the reason that some of you are having the attacks against your body, you're having the attacks of your mind, you're having the attacks of all of the things that you're doing. The reason that you're having that is because we're at this time that God is resetting the structure by which you're supposed to function for the next season. So what the enemy hopes is that you'll just give up, because that's what you felt like doing this week, probably more than normal, than what you used to. You felt like you wanted to just give up, throw in the towel. You just wanted to stop. And God came through and gave you a little nudge, gave you a little forearm, and said, "No, you're going to keep going. We right here now." The reason I want you to catch that is because when he says there was no bread, and I've taught y'all this before, I'm going to keep teaching it to you. I'm going to keep driving it home. Every time you see bread, I want you to think of process, because there is no bread tree. So a tree doesn't produce bread and then you pick bread off the tree. Bread is something that you have to go through the process to produce. And that is what I want you to understand. The process is for you to produce. Round about Monday or Tuesday, it felt like your processes wasn't working. It felt like your processes. This is why I want you to get this. When you don't have process, then you don't have the flow of output that you normally get. So some of you weren't getting the outcomes that you were accustomed to. So you were carrying out the process, and you were doing what you normally do, but you weren't getting what you normally get out of what you normally do. And that started to frustrate some of you. So this is why I want you to get this, because our second point, watch this. Our second point is this right here. Identifying your desire requires reworking your process sometimes. See, that satisfaction that you feel after a process has worked just like you want it to work, that satisfaction that you feel is God's way of letting you know you're on the right track. And nobody has to say anything to you. Nobody has to speak anything to you. It's just that when you get a certain thing done a certain way, it's just the settling, this relaxing, this calming, it just, you know what I'm talking about. It's almost like the soothing, calming dove settling in on your shoulder feeling. And then once you feel it, and once that becomes what you sense, you realize at that point, okay, you're able to take a deep breath. You're able to see, okay, so it can work together all for good. And then once you see that, then you start thinking back and saying, okay, how do I redo this process? How do I get this to work again, just like it worked this time? And see, what's frustrating is that you get that sense, you get that feeling, you get that sense of satisfaction, and then you go through and then you try to do something just like you just done it, and it don't feel the second time like it did. The second time you did the exact same thing, but it don't feel like it did the first time. So what that's letting you know is there's something that you misunderstood about the process. And that's what I'm trying to help you with tonight. Because do you know the pathway to your desire? See, the thing that I want you to get is this right here. So let's get ready for our third point. For our third point, I want you to go to 1 Kings 19. We're going to look at verses 20 and 21. 1 Kings 19, verses 20 and 21. Because what I want you to see there is this. This is Elijah and him interacting with Elisha. Excuse me. This is after Elijah has had a powwow with God, and he ain't happy. He's shook because he feels like he's the only one of God's people having to deal with life the way that he's having to deal with life in the moment that he's in. The guy finally shows him, look, I got 7,000 other folk that ain't ever kneeled down to Baals. You ain't the only one. There's plenty of others. I know you're feeling isolated. I know you're feeling lonely, but you ain't the only one dealing with this. So y'all type that in for me. You ain't the only one dealing with this right now. You ain't the only one that's got family problems. You ain't the only one that's having health problems. You ain't the only one that's having problems on the job. You ain't the only one that's having problems. You ain't the only one. You ain't the only one. I know it feels like that, but I promise you're not. So this instance right here is after Elijah has had one of those moments. Elijah has had that moment that he's just like, look, Calgon, take me away. Now, see, some of y'all young bucks, y'all don't know nothing about that. That's one of them old school commercials of Calgon, take me away. It was a commercial about bath salts, bubble bath, whatever you call it. And they had a rough day and they'd say, Calgon, take me away. And show them in the bathtub, getting away from everything and just relaxing. Well, see, we can say kingdom take us away, but I had to preach that some other time. But what I want you to catch is this. Elijah's had this moment. So much so he runs away. He's ready to quit. He's ready to call it quits. All of that. Basically, God takes him to the woodshed. So what you doing out here? Why you coming at me with this? Cause this is the thing I want you to get. When you're in a moment that you feel that, it's right there that you're about to break through. So if you have been feeling that, I wasn't downplaying, trying to make it seem like, just suck it up, buttercup, let's go. That ain't what I was doing. I was just wanting you to understand, number one, you're not alone. But the main point that I want you to get is that if you are feeling anywhere like that, your breakthrough is right there. Your breakthrough is right there. So this is what I want you to catch. But the problem is you haven't learned how to find the pathway to your desire when it's feeling like that. And that's what I'm coming to teach you tonight. See, in verse 20, it says, and he left the oxen, ran after Elijah, and said, let me, I pray thee, kiss my father and my mother, and then I will follow thee. And he said unto him, go back again, for what have I done to thee? And he returned back from him, took a yoke of oxen, and slew them, and boiled their flesh with the instruments of the oxen, gave unto the people, and they did eat. Then he arose and went after Elijah and ministered unto him. All right. What you got to understand is Elisha, because Elijah, Elijah, was instructed by God to anoint Elisha, Elisha, in his place. So he was supposed to train him. He was supposed to build him up. He was supposed to do all of those things. Now, I'm about to show you how we got to that point right there. But the point that I need you to see right here is that the pathway to your desire, this is the third point that I want you to get, is desire only navigates in one direction at a time. Desire only navigates one direction at a time. Fixing to have to mess with some folk right here, right now. So, since desire can only navigate one direction at a time, you might as well always make it forward. Because this right here is what's messing some people up right now. Right now, it's got a bunch of people across the country facing the wrong direction, trying to pursue change. So what? How you know they're facing the wrong direction? Because they're trying to repeat something that's already passed. You'll be changing from what you're presently in. But the fact that you're navigating backwards to go get it lets me know that should you arrive at that, the last state is going to be worse than the first. I'm telling you now, you're hearing it from me. If you are trying to redo something that you previously had, I can 1000% tell you you're going in the wrong direction. I can stand 10 toes down, flat-footed, and tell you you're headed the wrong direction. I don't care who tells you that. Because if they're telling you they're going to make it great again, if it was so great, it would have never changed. Anytime God himself allows change to happen, anything that he's wanting you to walk into, I can promise you it ain't backwards. See, this is why I want you to get this. And this is why this is so important. A double-minded man is unstable in all of his ways. And if your desire is leading you backwards, then you are going to be in a state of double-mindedness because the Most High God only wants you moving forward. That's it. Luke 9:62 is where he makes it crystal clear. No man, having put his hand to the plow and looking back, is fit for the kingdom of God. And there is a time that you can look back, but it shouldn't be for you to be trying to reproduce it. It should be for you trying to grow from it. So the reason I'm saying that to you is to get you ready for this fourth point. So for our fourth point, I'm going to show you a couple of things. First thing we're going to look at is verse 19 of 1 Kings 19. I read to you 20 and 21. So what you see Elisha, watch this, destroying everything that he was presently using that could tempt him to go back. Teach them lions. Elisha is destroying everything that could tempt him to go backwards. So what he does is he sets it up to where he can only go forward. I'm finna meddle right here. Some of y'all ain't gonna like me by the time I get done meddling right here. Look here, Lions, you're gonna need to go on and go forward. But I need to deal with this right here, right now. See, some of y'all in your relationships, you done found your new boo, your new shmoo, your new boogaloo. You done found them, y'all. But every once in a while they get a little shaky. And some of you still got some connections with your past. You know what I'm talking about. You still got some of them old numbers in there. Some of you done got that new job in that new position. It get a little crazy on the job, and you start thinking back and you want to connect back with that old employer. Some of you done went to the new church. You done committed. You ready to reconnect. You done felt God in his presence. You felt the Holy Ghost. You had goosebumps, glory bumps. You had all of that. But you get called to the carpet one week and you ready to reconnect with old Bishop now. Elisha gives a key point of revelation. He makes it crystal clear. He destroys any pathway to go back to what he was doing. He fixes it to where he can't go back to his old job because he kills the oxen that he's plowing with right there in that moment. So when he kills the oxen, that automatically in that moment positions him to where no matter what he does going forward, one thing's for sure, he ain't coming back to that. So I need for y'all to type that in. I ain't going back to that. Capitalize that. I don't know what your that is, but you need to declare right now that I ain't going back to that. It might get tough. It might be a tough road for me to go forward from here forward, but I ain't going back to that. Nah, I ain't going back to that. So in verse 19, I want you to see what actually ignites him to destroy everything to keep him from going back. So in verse 19, it's talking about Elijah. He says, so he departed thence and found Elisha the son of Shaphat, who was plowing with 12 yoke of oxen before him, and he with the 12th. And Elijah passed by him and cast his mantle on him. so let me grab something and give you a slight example here. He passes by him. He's got a mantle, which is an overcoat. It's kind of like a robe type deal, and that usually was a sign and a representation of a position that someone held. So what Elijah does is he passes by Elisha and he kind of throws it on him. As soon as he feels his mantle, as soon as he feels him touch him, he commits right then. And the first thing he does, that's why he picks up in 20, and it says that he left the oxen, ran after Elijah, and said, "Let me, I pray thee, kiss my father and my mother, and then I will follow thee." And he said unto him, "Go back again, for what have I done to thee?" So in other words, he didn't say anything. He just, and see, the issue is, and that's what's got some of you online right here, right now. I didn't ask you to follow, but you heard something from my mantle. So when I come to you as the apostolic teacher that God has equipped me to be, and you heard what I said, it didn't just go to your ears. It penetrated to the core of your being, and it touched the depths of who you are. You're like, who is this guy that's laughing? He's wearing shorts. He don't look like nobody else. He don't sound like nobody else. He don't act like nobody else, but he is always in my business. How is he always in my business? One time, you can stroke it up to luck. Couple of times, okay, yeah. But pretty much every time, how he keep meddling in my business? How he know? How is he able to each time he opens his mouth to teach about a subject from a completely different scripture, completely different angle, completely different thing, but still somehow find his way into meddling in my business? It's the mantle. It's who he built me to be. And initially, I didn't want it. Initially, I was like, I ain't saying that. I ain't calling myself that. I ain't finna be that. But I kept encountering situations that kept proving and kept showing that I wasn't like nobody else. And then after encountering those enough, I was like, okay, fine. I'm just going to say it. I'm just going to agree with it. I'm just going to go ahead and roll with this. And it is what it is. The reason that I'm telling y'all this, and I want you to understand this, is because it's just a matter of me saying what needs to be said, how he's given me to say it. And that's the equivalent of Elijah putting his mantle on Elisha. Now, here's why that's so important, because that sets the tone for what I want to show you in 2 Kings chapter 4, verses 8 through 16. Because in 2 Kings chapter 4, verses 8 through 16, it says this: Kind of a similar situation that with Elijah and Elisha here. A little different, but I want you to see it. So in 2 Kings chapter 4, verses 8 through 16, says this. Well, actually, I'll read verse 17 as well. 16 is okay. Just leave it like that, sis. And I'll read 17 as well. But I want you to see something here in this one, because it's going to set the tone for our point here, for our fifth point. Excuse me, for our fourth point. Because it says this, it says, and it fell on a day that Elisha passed to Shunem, where was a great woman, and she constrained him to eat bread. And so it was that as oft as he passed by, he turned him thither to eat bread. So again, process. He's partaking of her process. She is preparing that for her and her husband, her household, and Elisha is coming by. And as he's coming by, he is able to partake of her process. She sets up a whole bunch of stuff. So watch this. So she said unto her husband, behold, now I perceive that this is a holy man of God, which passeth by us continually. Let us make a little chamber, I pray thee, on the wall, and let us set for him there a bed, a table, and a stool, and a candlestick. And it shall be, when he cometh to us, that he shall turn in thither. And it fell on a day that he came thither, and he turned into the chamber and lay there. And he said to Gehazi his servant, call this Shunammite. And when he had called her, she stood before him. And he said unto him, and he said unto him, so Elisha says to his servant, say now unto her, behold, thou hast been careful for us with all this care. What is to be done for thee? Wouldst thou be spoken for to the king or to the captain of the host? And she answered, I dwell among mine own people. And he said, what then is to be done for her? And Gehazi answered. So notice, she still has not talked directly to Elisha yet. She is only talking to Gehazi, which is Elisha's servant. But look at what happens. She said, what then is to be done for her? Gehazi answered, verily, she hath no child, and her husband is old. And he said, call her. And when he had called her, she stood in the door. And he said, about this season, according to the time of life, thou shalt embrace a son. And she said, nay, my Lord, thou man of God, do not lie unto thine handmaid. And the woman conceived and bare a son at that season that Elisha had said unto her, according to the time of life. There's a lot of things that I could teach you right here, but I'm only after one main point. But I want to show you something from just that exchange. Initially, it's the servant talking to her. When it gets down to dealing with the desire, the prophet speaks directly to her. He speaks directly to her at that moment. And this is why that's so important, because when he speaks directly to her, it's the mantle. So just like what I'm speaking to you right now is the mantle. That's why this feels a little different tonight. That's why this feels a little bit more authoritative tonight, because I want you to watch what happens right here, which says, then What then is to be done for her? Gehazi answered, verily, she hath no child. Her husband is old. He said, call her. When he had called her, she stood in the door. And he said, about this season, according to the time of life, thou shalt embrace a son. She said, nay, my Lord, thou man of God, do not lie unto thine handmaid. Now, the reason that I want you to understand this is because when I showed you what happened with Elisha, and then now here he is releasing something that she didn't ask for. She didn't ask for it, but deep down inside of her desire, she wanted it. See, and that's what's done happen to some of you, even just this week. Some things got presented to you, and it lit up. It lit you up inside. Some favor that you didn't ask for or didn't think that you even wanted came to you. And once that desire got ignited on the inside of you, you're like, Lord, can this really happen this way? Wait a minute, Lord. Hold on. Don't be playing with me. Which is what she's saying. Don't lie to your handmaid right here. You ain't got to blow smoke up my behind. Come on now. Don't play with me. This is why I want you to catch this, because this is what our fourth point is. Our fourth point for tonight: identifying your desire sometimes requires outside help to even get started in the right direction. Teach them, lions. Sometimes it requires outside help. Now, he's placed the desire in you, but sometimes somebody got to talk to it. Sometimes somebody from the outside has got to talk to your desire, which is what I'm coming to do tonight. I'm coming to talk to those things that are on the inside of you that God is choosing to bring forth at such a time as this. Some of you now recognize that there's some things about the business world that you want. Some of you realize now there's things about the ministry world that you want. Some of you recognize that there are some things that you want for the family life. Some of you recognize now that there are some different things that you want in the health life. See, you've been dealing with the conditions that have seemingly become normal. And all of a sudden, it's like, wait, you mean I can have beyond this? Wait, you mean I can hold up. Wait a minute. So I don't have to stay on this level? No, you don't have to stay on this level, because he's trying to give you the desires of your heart. He hid something on the inside of you for such a time as this, so that you could be ones to help lead some of the people who are so focused on going backwards and going back to what things were to make it great again, to give them revelation on how to go forward instead of trying to go back. He put you in place to show them the kingdom. He put you in place. See, I didn't have to be there. He just had me to speak to the desire in you, and you be there. See, because when I ignite what's in you, then you ignite what's in them. And then I keep building you and you keep building them. And it just keeps expanding. See, a lot of people don't understand the ripple effect of social media. And initially, everybody, I got witnesses on here that were with us when we were at the first hotel, when we were at the very Quality Inn. And I was like, no, we ain't doing no social media. And if I hadn't, because again, I was being developed then. I knew who he had made me to be on the backside of the mountain, but he was bringing me to the forefront, and I'm still coming to the forefront. And in the process of him bringing me to the forefront and moving me forward, he's like, okay, boy, you're going to have to get in front of a camera. I'll never forget the very first time that I was getting in front of a actual TV camera, and they started coming at me with that makeup brush. Oh, I about lost it. I was like, nah, you just like, well, you got too much glare. Well, let me wipe my face off or something, but don't come at me with no makeup brush. No, I don't want that on me. No. So there were some things that I had to learn and be accustomed to be prepared for being on a camera and getting in place for all of that. But the reason that I'm telling you all of this right here, right now, is because sometimes identifying your desire requires help just to even get you started in the right direction. That's what you see happening here with the Shunammite woman. That's what you saw happening with Elijah and Elisha. So now I want to get you ready for our fifth and final point tonight, because there I got to show you three places. I'm going to try to do right just to lay this one down. It's going to be a little tough, but I need to show you three scriptures. First one I need to show you, Psalm 1, verses 1 and 2. Psalm chapter 1, verse 1 and 2. I know you can quote it. I know you can lay it out. I got you. But this is what I need you to see. Psalm 1, verses 1 and 2 says this. Says, blessed is the man that walketh not in the counsel of the ungodly, nor standeth, watch this, this is vital, nor standeth in the way of sinners, nor sitteth in the seat of the scornful, but his delight. And you're about to hear a key word in the other two verses other two passages that I'm going to read to you as well. But his delight is in the law of the Lord, and in his law doth he meditate day and night. In his law doth he meditate day and night. It's very important. So our second place that we're going to look at right here is in Psalm chapter 40 and verse 8. Psalm chapter 40 and verse 8 is where he says this. So in Psalm 40 and verse 8 says this. I delight to do thy will. Oh my God. Yea, thy law is within my heart. Now remember Psalm 1 and 2. In his law doth he meditate day and night. And then here he's saying, I delight to do thy will. Oh my God. Yea, thy law is within my heart. Now, the last passage I want you to look at is in Romans chapter 7, verses 21 through 23. Romans chapter 7, verse 21 through 23 says this. Romans chapter 7, verse 21 through 23. It says, I find then a law that when I would do good, evil is present with me. For I delight in the law of God after the inward man. Do right, lions, do right, lions, do right, lions. Verse 23, but I see another law in my members, warring against the law of my mind and bringing me into captivity to the law of sin, which is in my members. All right. So hopefully in all of the passages that you just heard me read, there was two key words that was in all three passages: delight and law. His delight, Psalm 1 and 2, verses 1 and 2, his delight is in the law of the Lord, and in his law doth he meditate day and night. Psalm 40 and verse 8, I delight to do thy will. Yea, thy law is in mine heart. And then here in Romans 7, I find then, verse 21, I find then a law that when I would do good, evil is present with me. For I delight in the law of God after the inward man. So when I told you earlier that he hides our desire, I was setting you up to get to this last point, because remember the question: do you know the pathway to your desire? Because I'm about to give you the pathway. Fifth and final point for tonight is delight in the law of the Lord is the only way for your desire to ever be reached. So when it's telling us stuff like thy word is a lamp unto my feet and a light unto my path, do you know the pathway to your desire? See, within our hearts, what he spoke into us before the foundation of the world, he put that in there so that no matter what environment we would end up in, there would be a way for our desire to never be put out. Because that desire being hidden in there, the only thing that can get to it is the delight in his law. So once you delight in his law, that's when you'll find the pathway to your desire. Once you find the pathway to your desire, it's going to ignite. Once that ignites, now that begins to drive you and direct you and show you and connect you to those things that are designed to help you get to the fulfillment of your desire. So what has to happen is, as you delight yourself in the Lord and delight yourself in his law, then it ignites the desire that he put on the inside of you. And once it ignites the desire that he put on the inside of you, then what begins to happen is you begin to see things before that you couldn't see before you delighted in his law. Once you delighted in his law and begin to be able to see those things that you couldn't previously see, it then ignites the desire for you to be able to know exactly why he has now drawn you to a place to where there were things that you previously couldn't see. Point number one, desire is deep within your being, but it is meant to be lived out on purpose. Point number two, identifying your desire requires reworking your process sometimes. Point number three, desire only navigates one direction at a time, so always make it forward. Point number four, identifying your desire sometimes requires outside help to even get started in the right direction. Point number five, delight in the law of the Lord is the only way desire is ever reached. Saturday morning, we'll be at 111 Deary Street in Shelbyville, Tennessee. Be starting out around about 10 a.m. Coming on live, exclusive ecclesia, around about 10:30-ish, that range. If you're in the area, come out and join us. I want you to understand that in this specific time and season, there are some things that are coming down the pipe that ain't pretty. They can't stop us, but they ain't pretty. I'm going to be, I'll let everybody know kind of Saturday, but I'm letting everybody here know as well. I'm going to be going live on my personal page at some point. Whenever God releases me to do it, I'm going to undo it. But what I'm going to be talking about is showing you how to have a biblical response to all of the stuff that's going on. Because all of the things that are happening, all of the things that are going on, they can shake you up, cause you to go different directions, throw a bunch of stuff off. I get it. I got you. But what we, the kingdom, need to understand. See, I'll type that in for me. We, the kingdom. What we, the kingdom, needs to understand is that no weapon formed against us will prosper. We have to understand how to stand during all of those times. Because what happens is who we have to be in those kind of moments is going to look defiant. It's going to look like, why ain't they following the same instructions? Why ain't they doing this? Just like it looked with Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego when they wouldn't bow down. Just like it looked with Daniel when they was trying to tell him, hey, anybody that prays to any other God other than the God of the king, and like, I'm gonna keep doing what I've been doing. I'm gonna keep doing it how I've been doing it, because that's the kingdom that I'm a part of. When it came to them trying to get them to eat the same food that everybody else was eating, Daniel was like, look, let us eat this, and y'all eat that, and at the end of a trial period, we'll find out who's in the best health. And then from that point, you do whatever you want to do. But right now, let's prove this. So sometimes it's going to look defiant. And that's what it's going to sound like when I start talking to you about a biblical response to a lot of the stuff that you're seeing. Because some of it looks good, but it ain't good. It looks good to try to say that Christianity is the religion of this state. Christianity is the religion of this nation. It looks good to do that, but that ain't good. Because at no point has God ever taken away our ability to choose. He tells us what we should choose. He tells us what's good for us, what should be the best for us. He lays that out crystal clear, but he doesn't make us do anything. He gives us the choice to choose, to go that direction. And anybody, I don't care who you are, that is trying to force a specific belief to be the standard of belief is out of order. They don't know the pathway to what they're saying their desire is. They're saying that Christ is their desire. They're saying that the Most High God is their desire. But the pathway that they're taking is proven that that ain't it. So when I do begin to actually speak, when I do begin to actually lay out, it's going to be on my personal page. When I do begin to lay that out, it's going to make a lot of sense because I'm going to show you biblically, Old and New Testament, of how we should be responding to the things that are being presented. So again, our points for tonight. Do you know the pathway to your desire? Point number one, desire is deep within your being, but it is meant to be lived out on purpose. Point number two, identifying your desire requires reworking your process sometimes. Point number three, desire only navigates one direction at a time. So always make it forward. Point number four, identifying your desire sometimes requires outside help to even get started in the right direction. Point number five, the delight in the law of the Lord is the only way desire is ever reached. So again, Saturday morning, 10 a.m., 111 Deary Street, Shelbyville, Tennessee, Kingdom Dominion Multiplex Center. Be there starting about 10 a.m. Be coming on live, exclusive ecclesia around about 10:30ish. So we're definitely looking forward to building some more on identifying your desire. So I love you guys. Thank you all for taking your time to tune in on tonight. Y'all have a blessed rest of the evening. Peace.